You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Lindsay After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Lindsay After Show.
Lindsay, break it down for us, girl.
A classic Lindsay song, Rumors. Very fitting for today's episode.
I'm glad to see people do remember about that one. Yes, Rumors. Rumor has it.
We thought she was in trouble then when this song came out, and it was like, oh, everyone's talking about Lindsay now. Forget it. It's just off the rails.
Welcome AFTERBUZZ, guys. I'm your host, Stephanie McGrath, and welcome to another Lindsay on Owen, Part 4. And today, as usual, I'm joined by my fabulous co-hosts. Starting from my far, far left, I have...
Grant Rutter. Good evening. Hello.
And thank you, Stephanie. I'm Kylie Hodges.
Now, guys, we have, as we made predictions of last week, we thought Part 4, it's got to go off like a bang. There's got to be something more we're building up to. And we started off, we went back to Dina's house to finish off the interview with Oprah. And during that interview, Oprah sat down with Dina, Lindsay's mum, and asked her a few hard-hitting questions, including things like, do you regret allowing Lindsay to travel to LA? And do you feel you've failed as a mother? Now, guys, take it over to you. What were your overall opinions about that whole interview?
I loved that interview. Oprah did not beat around the bush at all with Dina. And I thought it was very interesting. There was a moment where they were talking about when Lindsay had moved to California for the first time. She was 19. And Dina was talking about her hesitations. She was dating a club promoter. And Oprah asks her how she dealt with that. And Dina was saying that Lindsay was she was hiding the fact that she was an addict, and she didn't act like an addict when she was at home. And Oprah said, that's how an addict acts. And I thought it was so ironic that Oprah was telling Dina, who we have discussed before, Dina and Michael are both reported addicts as well. She was telling Dina what an addict is like. I thought that was so interesting.
I thought the interview was too short. I thought they could have went in many different directions with those questions. I thought Dina's behavior, she was very anxious when she sat down in that chair. And I mean, rightfully so. But she really, I could just see the look on her face like she didn't know what questions were going to come at her. There was no pre-interview. This was just going to be on the fly. And last week you mentioned that you looked at Dina and her behavior was a little off to you, especially as a mother. Did you feel that way in this episode?
I think every time I see Dina on camera, I feel that way. There's something about her that just feels off, and I don't understand what it is. She doesn't seem like a mother to me.
Did you guys get the sense of, I think it was more, in the interview, you certainly noticed that where she went from a very quick to, let's talk about, did you ever feel that Lindsay was going to be one of those tragic Hollywood stories? The tears started welling. She was, yes.
Yeah.
You're kind of going, I'm not feeling so genuine, because the moment Lindsay pops back in, Grandma comes in, smiles, all perky, all excited. Then they leave, and it was very candid. The moment Oprah gets in the car and they drive away, Lindsay was straight off by herself in the door. Grandma was, who knows. It just seemed very contrived.
Right. Well, you're absolutely right with her. You're absolutely right with her behavior during that interview, because with the turning on the tears and all that, because when I go referencing again the Dr. Phil interview, she kind of leaned back in her chair, kind of took in a little breath, and kind of like had like a little melodramatic moment. And that was really the same type of moment that was replayed through that whole interview. And I was wondering, are we going there, or is this going to be a real interview, or is she going to turn it on like she did with Dr. Phil?
Yep.
She had a moment there, and I was like, uh-oh. She's going to go there, which I love for television. Great. But I mean, it really, like, she didn't fool around with Oprah, and I didn't think she would. I don't think she has the cojones to really do that in front of her.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I feel like that Dina has done this before. She knows how to turn on the sob story mom, and she knew when to turn it off, too.
But it definitely was
very rehearsed.
I don't think, though, she came across like she normally does. I know that I think she's got that act on, but I think Oprah saw through it. Oprah threw back the question where she wasn't going to answer it completely, as in, what were you doing? She's like, look, I had, it was really hurting the other siblings. She was avoiding the answer, taking responsibility for herself as a mother.
Putting the blame on the kids, essentially.
Exactly. And I said this from the beginning. These people never take the rap for anything. I wrote them down. The excuses were that the kids were in school, so she couldn't move. She had 3 kids. She was juggling so many things. And then, of course, she was in denial.
Now, my mom does not have, are there 5 kids or 4 kids in the Lohan family?
Michael, Cody, Allie, Lindsay, and then there's the stray ones that Michael has.
Lindsay
so
doesn't,
yeah,
we
there
don't
are
talk
4,
about those.
yes.
Yep.
I only have one brother, but I know that my mother, who lives 2,000 miles away, if she knew I was in trouble, she could put things on hold to come and fix me. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what a mother does. I'm not saying my mom is perfect, but I just feel like a parent would be much more proactive about a situation.
It's so easy to throw the blame. Well, I had 3 kids, and they were all in school, and I was busy, and I have a house to try to keep, and it's just too easy.
Yeah.
I'd even suggest taking another perspective on this, is that also, yes, you can say she wasn't acting in the best motherly attentions, but then if you're also looking at addict herself, she's not necessarily caring much about the kids or anybody at all.
Exactly.
Who knows what she's actually going through as an addict herself at that time. So,
Spot on.
I mean, an addict, trying to be a parent to a fellow addict, you've got a recipe for a disaster, do you not?
I kind of wish that the interview had gone on longer too, because I wanted Oprah to talk to Dina about her own personal issues.
Yes.
I wanted her to dive in and get Dina to say that she's been an addict or she is an addict or any of that, or even Michael's issues. But
Dina was
cut
foolish.
short.
Dina looked foolish to me at the end of this interview because she really tried to put out there and project that this was this wholesome family that really just kind of, she got caught up in things and she couldn't put in the time, and my mother's here, and it was just like, if that was the case, and we can see this with other celebrities, people who come from really solid homes, they're really not in this. They're really not in such a mess, and so it just was foolish for us to think that she was going to. It was foolish for her to think that we were going to think that this was just a great little family, and Lindsay just kind of got caught up in everything. There's too much. I hope I'm making my point correct. I mean, there's just too much. For it, there's too much.
Too much now in this day and age. We have seen it all. You're not. That's why I mean. I think with this interview in particular, she's rehearsed it. She knows it and what she was going to say, and it's worked in the past. But Oprah's like, no, hold it. Take a stop there, Dina. We know this isn't a wholesome story. We've seen it all. You can't try and blame this. We know your own issues. So cut the BS.
Exactly.
Now, what do you think about Oprah's comments when she was leaving the car, saying Oprah was saying, personally, I genuinely feel Lindsay is now taking responsibility. She realised that I'm not going to have any more of this. You get this right. You do the scheduling, you do the filming for it. What do you think about that?
I agree with Oprah, because Oprah said that she believes that Lindsay believes she's ready to make the change. And I do too. I think Lindsay believes it, but I don't think Lindsay has a full grasp on exactly how she needs to act and what she needs to do to make what she wants happen.
I kind of feel like it's getting called to the principal's office for something that happened. And yes, sir, it'll never happen again. And then it's like, okay. And then here comes the next day, maybe even the next hour. And it's like right back to, the usual business. I mean, I don't know. I wish we could see that call sheet and see just what she's missing out on.
Yes.
And how often.
Exactly. Now, on that subject, guys, I want to take, I think the main theme of this Part 4 episode in particular was scheduling. I mean, we've used that word throughout from the very start, and Lindsay's been constantly making remarks saying, I just want to schedule. That's what I need. And I highly encourage that. Anybody that's coming into, out of rehabilitation and trying to make new life, as they say, rebuilding it for herself, they do need a schedule. Like all of us, we get things done that way. And I think for this, you could put the schedule in looking at her team. So the team including AJ, Matt, Michael, and that further on to the community service. So starting off, I guess, with Matt, who we introduced, and it seems like everything has worked well. They've worked it out.
He got to talk with Lindsay. He wasn't so tense. So something has happened.
And guys, I'm just going to interrupt there. It looks like we've got one of our callers coming online. We have a Lindsay Lohan on Owen big fan. And she's about to call Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, how's it going, everyone?
Hello.
So we have another AfterBuzzer, Heather Smith, on the line, and she's a big, big fan of this show. So she told me she had to call in and chat with us about it.
Show.
Oh, Heather, fantastic. Now, what was your opinion? Did you watch tonight's episode?
I did. I watched tonight's episode, and I actually thought that Lindsay kind of came off a little better than she has in the past episodes. She had a little bit more things together this episode than she has in the past. So I actually really liked her this episode.
I agree. Especially after the community service thing.
The likability
I
factor was
love
kind of
that.
low. The likability factor was kind of low, and this episode did pick it up because I was worried for her image. I was.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave us plenty of reasons for us to not like her in the past. And I think this episode was a resolution to the last three and a lead into the following or the rest of the season, because I feel like this episode was very pivotal. A lot has changed, a lot has happened, and now we're anxious to see if she continues the path of following all the change that's happened in this episode.
Now, Heather, as a viewer and a fan, what were your initial sort of predictions or thoughts about Lindsay doing this show and whether her ability to sustain from alcohol?
I thought it was going to be kind of a hot mess, to be honest. I really didn't think that she would be able to get it together, even if it's only been a month. I kind of saw her falling back into her old ways. It's happened so many times. I mean, what has she been in rehab, like, I don't know, 5 times or so?
Six.
And I just didn't really see it working, but maybe because the cameras are on her and she does have that pressure of everyone kind of watching her this time, maybe that has made her kind of put the bottle down for a while at least while the cameras are on. Who knows? It kind of sounds like maybe she relapses in the next episode, so that will be interesting to see what happens.
So do you think the show is a good thing or a bad thing for Lindsay at this point?
Oh, probably a bad thing. But, I mean, if the cameras are watching her at every moment, you know, then it could be a good thing. But to be honest, it's probably not the best thing for her stability right now.
Would you, by watching her on this doco-series, does this make you more likely to want to go see future movies or productions that she'll be in? Do you feel like you know her more personally?
I think so. I always think that if a celebrity is relatable and you get to know them personally and what they're doing in their life, that it kind of makes you feel like you want to support them in their careers, in their movies or music or whatever they're doing. And so I think that I would probably be more apt to go to see one of her movies now, just kind of getting a glimpse into her life.
Now, how genuine, because that's certainly been a topic we've been discussing from the start, and we think this episode is starting to show a little bit more raw and honest, which they keep on telling this whole doco-series is supposed to be, but the three of us kind of disagreed that we didn't feel it was that raw, that Lindsay was portraying something for the cameras. How do you feel as a viewer watching it?
I think you guys are right on with that. Like, I think she's kind of been pretty fake. But then again, this episode, going to the school and hanging out with that little boy, it just kind of brought it back down to, like, being real. And I felt like that was genuine, because if she wasn't being genuine to the kids, then there's no way at the end of that episode, or end of that time with the kids, that they would have gone up to her and giving her hugs and not wanting her to leave. If it wasn't all just for the cameras, then there's no way those kids would have done that. So I actually felt that she was really genuine this episode.
I completely agree. You know, I also thought it was really interesting how Matt, the assistant, fired Holly. Heather, what did you think of Holly? I know we haven't seen much of her, but what did you think of her in general on the show?
Well, I thought it was just kind of weird. Last episode, I think it was, when they asked her, well, how long have you known Lindsay? And she said, well, I've only known her for a week or only been hired on for a week. I don't know. That just seemed kind of bizarre to me. I don't know if you would hire someone like that and have them in your house when you're having all this chaos and such, and then this episode to hear that she was drinking wine in front of Lindsay, she seems like kind of a mess too. So who knows? I don't know if that was really a good idea to have her there.
Exactly. Now, does that take us to a point that we mentioned last week, Heather? We just thought that some of these employees, these people were just being hired for the show. And it just, as you exactly said, why would someone who doesn't know Lindsay be taken into her home and thrust into the private life of everything if it wasn't just for the show? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I completely agree with that. I feel like she was exactly put on there for the show. I don't think there was really any other reason for her to be on there. I think Matt definitely was probably there before the show, and I think he's really trying and really trying to be a good assistant, and, you know, hopefully he has Lindsay's best interests in mind with, you know, working with her and such. But, yeah, I think that a lot of these people are probably just in there just for the show.
So don't you think, here's what I think. If Holly is somebody that barely knew Lindsay but got hired to be in this close-knit group of people that are supposed to be people that she trusts and knows very well and has nothing but her best intentions in mind, I kind of want to know, who are we to blame to let such a sloppy hire come into the mix? Because don't you think, I'm assuming Matt hired her. I don't know if that's true or not. But if he did, don't you think he would have tried a little harder to really find someone that had Lindsay's best interests in mind when they don't know each other? That it's not like, you know, Lindsay's a close friend with her and this girl truly understands Lindsay, and then she got fired like a week later for drinking wine in front of her. Don't you think that's sort of sloppy hiring and just kind of just like he wasn't really thinking, or whoever brought her on just didn't really care or wasn't really thinking about it?
She hadn't had previous experience, correct? This was her first time for a big name.
As much as we know, I think. I don't know
right.
much about the background of Holly Taylor.
I just think it's strange that Lindsay's whole goal is to have a normal, scheduled life and to be surrounded by people who are reliable and are truly on her team. And then it's just kind of like they flimsily throw in another chick in the mix. And she's just like, she's never proved that she's like good around addicts or that she's reliable, or I don't know. What do you think, Heather?
I agree. I'm curious who is hiring her.
Exactly.
I think that Matt was really upset with her at first. So I don't know if he was the one who hired her. It kind of seemed like she was flung on Matt, too. And he was kind of taken aback, like he was getting fired or something at first.
I caught that, too.
I mean, really, who is hiring these people?
Yeah, it's strange. Just a thought.
Now, Heather, what do you think, though, in the next... I mean, it's a short series that they've done, so they're predicting we have 8 episodes. So we're halfway there. What do you think the remaining 4... Do you think it will really... Any predictions on it? Do you think we'll really pick up and really shine out, you know, Lindsay and portraying a really great light, or do you think it will just, you know, dissolve into nothing?
I think she'll probably have a few good moments in the next couple episodes, I think. After tonight's episode and her talking with her wellness coach, I can't remember her name, but
AJ.
I think that if Lindsay really wants to get her career back on track, after that conversation, she probably needs to have a serious sit-down with her management team and find out why they're not submitting her to roles or fighting for her to get certain roles, because that's a huge problem. If your career is getting these acting jobs and your management doesn't even care if you get them or not, I mean, she should probably rethink if that's the right team for her, even if she's had them for 8 years. It may be time to switch it up a bit. So it might happen next episode. I would like to see that happen next episode, that she has a talk with them.
It kind of seems like from the trailer, she does have a talk with her management, and it doesn't go so well. I might be making a lot of assumptions, but that's sort of what I picked up from what they cut together with the teaser, because there was tears, and I heard her say something about work. Correct me if I'm wrong.
When they think of the best actress on the scene, they think of her or they don't. Well, it's one or the other.
I mean, we saw a bit, and was really quite good in this episode where her talking about the process, about management, about working with agents, and what they should be doing. I mean, this girl, at the end of the day, that's one thing she does know about, and it's about, she's been acting since she was a little kid, and she knows the process about it. Was that, Heather, was that also a bit of an eye-opener? Did you enjoy seeing Lindsay really stand forth and be very knowledgeable about the process of what a management should be doing?
Absolutely. I had no idea that she knew all of that. I mean, you'd kind of think that an actor or an actress would maybe have a little bit of knowledge, but I mean, she seemed like she really knew the ins and outs of the business, and that was kind of impressive to see because, I mean, I wouldn't have expected that from her at all.
I think AJ's response at the end of that whole conversation was spot on, where she said, let's show them that you've changed. And she, I think by saying that, she managed to tie into Lindsay that it's not just about getting back to work, but you need to clean your act up and stay cleaned up and be reliable with this documentary you're making, with showing up to yoga classes with AJ, anything in life. She needs to hold herself accountable and follow through. Otherwise, she's not going to get work. She needs to prove the haters wrong, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's the way she's going to get work, and I completely agree. I love AJ. I think she's
that was
great.
one of the most fascinating scenes
Yeah.
I think so far. Hearing about the business side of her lifestyle and her goals and what needs to change, because we don't really hear that about actors out there, about their representation. Are they happy? Are they unhappy? I thought it was great.
And Lindsay sounds pissed. She got snubbed for a role in the Avengers movie coming up, and now I want to know what role it was. I wonder if it was what Jennifer Lawrence has, the blue girl. Sorry, I don't know the name of the character. I'm just curious.
I'm not surprised there. That's a big gamble.
Yeah.
A franchise like that to put somebody, who's had some trouble.
But
with movies.
I wonder if another reason why Lindsay's so upset that she didn't get put into Avengers is because that's the kind of movie that could be a career restart for her, because that's going to be a blockbuster hit.
Exactly.
I mean, we know that. And so if she does well in something like the Avengers, people might start taking her seriously and she can have another comeback career. Doing like the Canyons, this like indie movie, it's like going to get buzz, but not in the right reasons.
Right. I mean, I just don't see anybody taking a gamble like that with putting someone in such a high, expensive, high-grossing franchise like that. I just don't see it yet. Maybe. Hopefully. Fingers crossed for you.
I would love to see Lindsay in an action flick like that.
As
soon as she said it, I was like,
that girl was
Lindsay
seen
doing
her
stunts.
exactly tonight's episode. We've seen her doing everything from pole dancing to yoga. I mean, this girl, she's got athleticism in it, that's for sure. Well, look, Heather, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it, and it's glad to see that. Yes, even though some of the viewers may have, they started off with mixed feelings about this, but by the sounds of it, it certainly, made everyone involved. You certainly sound like you'll be tuning in for the remainder of the doco series.
Will do. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now, I want to touch on another favorite moment of mine. My two favorite moments from this episode were Lindsay doing her community service. I think she is great with kids, and it reminded me about how she said that she's had to be an older sister and a mother for a long time in her life, and I think that shined. She's great with kids. If she decides to change her career, I think she'd be really good at that. It was a sweet moment. But also, I loved seeing her interact with Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. Now, we've got to touch on that. Her sketch, it was, And
I thought it was very, very interesting that she, I mean, I don't know how often her and Jimmy talk in general outside of working together, but she really, it means a lot to her that he is a supporter of her and her life decisions and her career, and he wants nothing but the best from her. I thought that was great.
I think I will certainly comment on that as well, Kylie. I think there were 3 moments in particular that I noted in this episode that we saw a more genuine side of Lindsay, something we haven't seen from the start of the episodes, and that was in the Jimmy Fallon. You actually saw her when she was on camera. She's happy. That girl, as she's always said though, she's got a talent. She was born to do this. She loves it. And that's probably one side that to back up Michael, the sober coach's comments about when you're an addict, you're extremely selfish. All you think about is, hey, how are you going to get your next fix? How are you feeling? You know, do you need more? Are you managing? I mean, everything honestly is about yourself. But when you take that attention off you and put it onto something, whether it be an activity or someone else, then that allows the addict to then finally get escape of their own self. And so whether it was with Jimmy Fallon, where she was acting, whether it was community service, working with the kids, as you were saying, whether it's her feeling back and regressing into those moments where she was the older, being the mum to her younger siblings, or also remembering a life where she was addiction free. She was happy. She was a young actress. She was enjoying the best time of her life. And then lastly was also what we talked about with her, with AJ, how passionate she got about this. When she was like, you put me on that tape, I will do it. She's got confidence in herself. She believes in her acting ability and her talent. And you actually saw a genuine Lindsay getting strong about it and saying, I know I can do this. That's the only time I've ever seen her do that.
I think going to the school with those kids was probably the best thing she could have done, especially after hearing Michael speaking of how that's such a great thing for addicts to do, to kind of get their mind out of me. And it was a great moment with seeing that, and I was really hoping that she was going there for her own progress and it wasn't connected to community service. I was hoping that that was going to be something that she just wanted to do, that she thought it could be something good to volunteer, to get out there. You know, I hope she really goes back to those kids.
Let's not push it, Grant.
Yeah. Grant,
I agree. I'm very
she
glad
didn't go have a meeting with the Dalai Lama, remember? She's just, you know.
She's not Angelina Jolie.
I mean, it's like, here she is doing this great thing, and it's because she stole jewelry in Los Angeles.
Yes.
It's like, oh, God. I mean,
Yes. But it did bring out a great side in her. I also I really appreciated seeing how she interacts, what you were saying, when it's not about her.
Yep.
Even when she was goofing around with Jimmy off stage, when the attention is taken off of the negative sides of Lindsay, she seems like a really delightful person. So I feel bad I've been ragging on her the past couple weeks, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna not hold her accountable in the next upcoming episodes if she does slip up.
It's like everyone's going to be turning into little Oprahs.
Yes.
I'm holding you accountable.
Yeah. You know what was really interesting, speaking of all the community service, when she talked about going to the morgue or the coroner in LA, it's just the way she spoke about it, though, it almost seems like it was an experience she went through as opposed to like a learning experience or like a slap on the wrist type of like sentencing. Like it just kind of sounded to me like it was something she did one day, and I don't think she sees why she's in these places. I don't think she gets it why she's doing
Those
this.
sort of scare tactics that they do use, and that is one method by doing that. Literally, if you're an addict, you want to see what's going to happen, consequences of where you can be, and that's what they tried to do by thrusting her into that position. I completely agree with you on the Grant that I don't think for her, it didn't hit that second notch. Some people it does, it makes it a huge wake up call. For her, it wasn't. It was like, you know, it's really sad, these young people dying. It's like, Lindsay, that's going to be you.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about the end of your film and Hollywood career. We're talking about an early death. Alcohol and drug abuse. You're not playing around here. It kills you.
Right. And her and Paris Hilton, they're the same type of person with regards to these going through these experiences and talking about them afterwards and not really getting anything out of it, why they were put in that position in the first place. I don't get it. You've done it now enough times to get it.
That's really funny that you mentioned Paris Hilton because they used to be BFFs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I believe they're not anymore, but I'm not positive. But
They shouldn't
that
be.
just made me think, unless they don't want to be on camera, we've seen one friend of Lindsay's throughout this experience so far. Don't you think it's interesting that there have been very few people from outside of her acting career who are in her life that have resurfaced to say like, hey, I'm glad you're sober. I've missed you. How can I help you? I'm here. Or just, we're friends, let's hang out. I mean, maybe it doesn't fit in the storyline, but it kind of made me think, you know, does she have any friends?
Which, rumour has it, I've only heard the rumours and stuff, that a lot of Lindsay's so-called friends and close friends, they actually haven't liked the doco-series thus far. And they don't want to be involved in it.
There you go.
Ooh, that's some good tea.
So
I wonder why they don't like it. Like what? Because I don't think this docuseries would make them look bad. Maybe they just don't want to be involved. It's a tumultuous situation.
Well, I mean, think about it. Anyone that's going to step up into a scene with her, they're not going to talk about TV shows or a sale. They're going to talk about, like, well, remember when we went out and we did this, and then we ran into this situation, and nobody wants to, like, willingly volunteer to sit there and talk about mistakes they made out and about in New York City at 4 a.m.
Now, does that say something more about Lindsay's past behaviour and her so-called close and all her friendships? I mean, it's a sad truth, but maybe you're exactly right there, Grant. Maybe all of her past relationships and friendships were all built on going out, doing drugs, drinking, and partying.
Her first boyfriend was a club promoter, we learned, through Dina. So
what? Why would her friends, exactly as you said, why would they come and say, well, look, to be honest, my only memories of Lindsay and I were passed out at some, club, fancy dancy club in LA. I mean...
That's it.
They're probably next in line to go to rehab, and so they probably have nothing in common with her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
That's
sad.
true. Or they have gone through it and they don't want. It's just a time in their life they don't want to discuss. But yeah, I mean, I wonder the same thing. Where are her friends?
Does she have any real friends?
On that other sad note about another consequence of addiction, and that can also be your health consequences. Now, I'm not saying it was because you can. I know with veneers you chip your tooth and you can break it. But that's another thing that Lindsay, at her age, and they're not necessarily going to come through now, alcohol and drug abuse takes a huge toll on your body. That includes things like teeth erosion. Now, I mean, who knows how many health problems she's setting herself up to in the future.
Damn.
So the big thing that we saw, guys, there was a dental emergency. What was your take on this whole section of the episode on it?
I rolled my eyes when I realized it was a veneer that fell out, because when she held up her phone to show the picture, I was like, oh God, how did she put a giant gap in our teeth?
Yep.
And then she said, my tooth fell out, my veneer fell
Those
out. And I
freak
was like,
me
ugh.
out. Those freak me out because for those who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe a veneer is where they file down your actual adult teeth. So they're just small, little, almost like triangles. And then they put on the veneers, which is supposed to be very expensive.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep that white, perfect smile. And for an actress, I can understand why she do, but for me, my God-given adult teeth are good enough. I wouldn't want to see my teeth filed down like that. That would freak me out.
Well,
I'm glad we didn't see her her grill like
Going down.
I hate getting dental work. I would hate to have the cameras in there. Would you want to have, if you were in a procedure, to have cameras like that right there watching you? I wouldn't want it.
I'd rather that they were at my dentist appointment than like my OBGYN appointment.
Yeah, I'd be
I can't
down on
relate.
that.
I
I think
can't
there's a few
relate.
other ones that, I mean, look, Lindsay's a very open girl. We've seen it. She had no problems of them coming to the pole dancing. We've seen it, as she said, the cameras are following around. I think she's starting to also getting more used to that.
Well, she's screwed if she says you can't be here, because then they're just going to say, you're not being a team player, you're not letting in the cameras, you're saying no. So it's like, you have, at this point, it's like you can't say no to anything.
Yeah, as far as we know, this whole episode, she's been playing ball with the producers, and we don't have any evidence to say that after she had that talk with, I believe his name was Craig, the executive of Pilgrim, and Oprah, we have no evidence to prove that she isn't cooperating. So that's good. That's good to hear.
Hopefully
We're
so.
getting a show out of it, because this was a great episode.
It was a
Things
good one.
happened. We're getting to see Lindsay pass the temper tantrums.
Although they did, whether it was the dramatic climax for the end of the episode, we did finish off on this episode finding out, which we knew near the start, they did mention that Michael, her sober coach, would be returning back to LA. He wasn't going to be her sober crutch, He's done his time, his 30 days, he was off. Lindsay has got all the skills, the people around her to make a new life for her. She can remain sober. It's up to Lindsay now. Now, guys, what was your own opinion and your take of how they nicely packaged it up? They had him on the couch and they threw out the question to Michael, is Lindsay sober? And there was a lot of umming and ahhing, pauses to the extent that he's like, only Lindsay knows. Dun, dun, dun.
I awaited this the whole season almost, and it was rewarding because they made it look like he had really give it thought, and he really gave it some thought. He didn't know, especially I'm thinking in his mind, he's like, what can I say that I can say, because there's so much you can't.
Yep.
And so that really was like, and no one was helping him out either. They like let him go. And I kind of think that, she isn't, but I wonder what he sees that he doesn't believe 100% that she's sober, because he says, I have no solid evidence. So what is he seeing? Is he seeing an empty bottle? Is he smelling something? Like, what is it? And I also feel like he mentioned that a couple times, that he's kind of given her the tools to set her up to fly on her own, but it never felt to me like he thought she was going to do it, or she was there, or she was ready, or she was hoping to be released till she had it. There was no like moment where he's like, yeah, she's got it, she's good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting that he did hesitate. He didn't sound confident in whether or not she was sober. And we haven't seen any evidence to indicate that she's not. I think it's weird, however, that at the beginning of the episode, it showed AJ and Holly making breakfast, and Matt, her assistant, was doing an interview to the camera explaining that he's trying to get Lindsay on a schedule. And AJ was saying she wants Lindsay to start her days at 10 a.m. every day. But, like, don't you think it's weird she was sleeping till 10 a.m.? Like, unless you're out partying, why are you sleeping late? She, like, I don't know the process of sobriety, like, post-rehab. Like, is her body still so out of whack? And what's up with that? I just don't get it.
My take on this, and they mentioned this, like she still needs some type of a schedule and some type of routine. But, she spent a lot of time living in a hotel. Now she's in her apartment. She's been out of rehab for a while. Why is there no schedule? Or at least, like, why are we having this discussion now? You should probably get up at 10 a.m. every day. Like, that should have been, like, if this is a girl that needs structure, this should have been instilled a while back. Why are they letting her sleep in so late?
I agree, but I think this episode now was kind of like, all right, now we're going to start the schedule.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's too late. I mean, it's a good thing. I don't think it's too late threatening her sobriety, but, like, why are we just doing this now?
Good question. Now, fans and viewers, guys, comment down below. We want your opinions. Why do you think it's now? Why didn't they start that in episode 1? Or was there too much going on with her moving? On that note, I think we should go to news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Now, guys, I've got a bit of news and gossip. Tomorrow, March the 31st, Lindsay appears on Ellen. And I've watched some of the clips thus far about the show, and I'll tell you what, I've never seen Ellen give it back to one of her guests as much as she did with Lindsay.
Awesome.
Look, on the same stage, it's always Ellen, and she's still such a sweethearted, interviewer. She was genuinely nice. I'm not saying she was mean to her, but she certainly put up Lindsay in a few comments that she even made about her singing. She makes suggestion that you were on our episode, a few seasons back, and you sung. I didn't even realise you were a singer.
Yeah.
And Lindsay's like, well, that probably shows why I'm not singing anymore. In addition to that, a lot of people have actually commented and said about the episode that airs tomorrow, saying that Lindsay looks like she's back to her old self, which I kind of don't know if that's a good thing, because her old self, that means that she was still a user.
Right.
So, but they said that she really feels like she's pulled it together. She comes across genuinely honest, like she's got her shit together, including that she's also got an upcoming movie she's going to start filming in May. So it looks like she does have work on the boards, that she is back onto it, and that things are supposedly going well for her. So, yeah, guys, definitely I'd tune in to that tomorrow and find out what Lindsay says to Ellen, or shall I say what Ellen says back to Lindsay. And Grant.
Well, meanwhile, back in New York, the New York Daily News is reporting that, quote, she's got people coming in and out all hours of the night, a source told the New York Daily News. Lindsay loves talking about her sobriety, then going to the Electric Room every Friday and Saturday night, which is a club in New York.
Maybe the club is hiring her to be an inspirational speaker.
Oh, Lord. That's it.
That's the
she's
place
there.
to do it.
Yeah.
Because before long, guys, they're going to be having AA meetings inside of a club.
Yeah.
I don't blame her, though. Like, I mean, you're young and you want to go out. I mean, imagine if someone said, like, that's it, every Friday and Saturday night, you can never go to a club, but you're going to want to go.
At the same time,
But
though,
I get it. She's sober.
she's how old? 27?
27.
She's had a fair run of going out to clubs every Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, weekday
That's
night
true.
as well. It's not like this girl's been caged her entire life and she's never had the opportunity.
You're right. She's probably done it for more than 3 of us. Yeah, you're right.
She's seen her. She's even said, "I've done it all. I've seen it all." Like, why does she need to keep going to the club? If it's to see people or friends, can't they come to her?
The source goes on to say Lindsay avoids Oprah's calls all the time. She thinks she has it all handled. Oprah really does care and really wants the best for Lindsay.
Of course, it's Oprah.
How can you avoid Oprah's calls, though?
Oprah will find you.
Would that not be one if you pick up your phone and you see, you know, Oprah? You would want to answer as opposed to, I'll call her back.
Yeah.
You're going to call Oprah back? Yeah.
Lindsay
Oprah
said-
doesn't leave voicemails.
And Lindsay said in an interview with Jimmy Fallon that like she likes to have the voicemails because it's cool. So maybe she really does let it go to voicemail.
That is
But
so annoying.
I mean, when you've got someone who has probably a very limited time like that calling you, and they're like being your life coach, air quotes. I mean, why would you not answer? I don't know. And the article goes on to question her sobriety because they say that she's out all the time till late hours of the night. But there is, again, no evidence that she is drinking. There's no photos of her drinking. And that she stayed over at the Gramercy Hotel as opposed to going home one night. But that they also said that could be to avoid photographers, which it sounds like a Lindsay move because she's always trying to dodge them anyway.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's a good excuse.
Interesting news and gossip.
Interesting, guys. And that final part then moves us on to predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So, guys, as Grant made the comment about from our news and gossip, is Lindsay sober or not? We finished this with next week's previews of next week's episode, which includes... There's a lot of questions about, is she sober, including AJ, her life coach that has been, I was team AJ definitely in this episode. Looks like she almost wants to call it in, say I'm not even going to do it. Lindsay looks like, she's gone back on the drinking.
I think that this teaser is going to make me think this next episode is going to be all about Lindsay going back to her old ways, when in reality... it's about like something completely different. I'm assuming I'm getting duped by this teaser and that Lindsay is still sober, but just being a pain in the ass with something else.
Well, I think editing is involved, and I don't think AJ is leaving her, mainly because that would look terrible for AJ Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's on the show.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think she would leave. But it was mentioned that Lindsay was allegedly drinking wine with her. Was it her mother? Was it the mother again?
Dina.
Did Dina just get busted for a DUI?
Dina.
So, I mean...
That's a mothery role,
That's all
as
that
we
I
talked
need.
about. She just
Mother
steps
of the
up when
year.
she needs to.
That's all I need to know. So, I mean, my predictions are that she's probably not going to give us a straight answer. She'll give us a one of those Lohan answers where there'll be no ownership of it at all.
And no real answer.
Yeah, and then it'll be left to us to figure out. And they'll ask Matt. He'll be on the street corner again like, I don't know. That poor guy. I just feel like he's just like, they just leave him in the dark anytime they can. He's trying so hard. And they tweeted a picture last week, because remember she was really rough on him last week about the whole situation with the keys to the apartment. And they put the TiVo on pause, and they took a selfie in front of it. And they're like, besties. So I don't know. I don't know how bestie Matt is with her. I feel like he would probably keep, a little bit distance.
Professional relationship
Right.
here, Lindsay. Let's be honest. Now, guys, don't forget to jump onto iTunes and download us. We really appreciate it. Last week we were up in number 2. So let's make it number 1
Yes.
this week. So download us. And where can I find my fabulous hosts?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at GrantMichaelR.
You can find me Twitter and Instagram at the Kylie Hodges.
And you can find me, guys, at Twitter at Host McGrath and also on YouTube at Stephanie McGrath, McGrath. And that's all for tonight, guys. And we look forward to having you all in tomorrow week. Next week for part 5 of Lindsay on Owen. Night, guys.
Adios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.